It's time to place your bets. The Crystal Lake slasher Jason Voorhees finally takes on the dream demon Freddy Krueger. Doesn't matter to me who wins because they're both total badasses.
You're slow, you're stupid, and you got no style.
Kick his punk ass, Jason. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my look at the Friday the 13th franchise. Today, I'll be looking at Titans of Horror battling it out in Freddy vs. Jason. Shocker! Jason X was a huge disaster, having the lowest box office return even though it had the highest budget of $14 million. But the time had finally come and New Line was ready to settle on a script for Freddy vs. Jason. There were so many insane premises that were proposed before the final version was accepted. There was Jason on trial, a cult of Freddy Krueger fanatics called the Fredheads, both fought in hell with Ted Bundy as the referee, an explanation that Freddy actually drowned Jason as a child, and a shit ton of other nonsense. After years of receiving drafts and spending a ton of money, New Line went with screenwriters Mark Swift and Damian Shannon, who penned quite possibly the best script possible to combine Jason and Freddy into one movie. Ronnie Yu, who helped revive another horror icon Chucky several years prior with Bride of Chucky, was brought on to direct despite never having seen a Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street film. For years, the plan was to bring back Kane Hodder to play Jason in the crossover event. However, Ronnie wanted someone taller to tower over Freddy Krueger actor Robert Englund, so stuntman Ken Kersinger was hired for the role. This had the potential to be one of the biggest disappointments for horror fans. Did all those years of development hell pay off? Let's find out. So the movie begins with an origin for Freddy Krueger as we see him as a human killing a child but eventually being burned alive by the parents of Elm Street. There's a bit of a montage of Freddy's greatest hits from the Nightmare movies, but then we get an explanation that after the town of Springwood forced everyone to forget his existence, he lost all of his power, unable to return. He searched through the bowels of hell to find someone that'll make them all remember. Introducing Jason. His hell seems to be living out all the cliches of his films and forever killing teens.
Gotcha, bitch!
Freddy disguises himself as Jason's mom and encourages him to wake up and continue his work by punishing the children of Elm Street.
Rise up, Jason! Your work isn't finished! Hear my voice and live again!
To me, this was the perfect opening to bring both Freddy and Jason together. It's nothing outlandish, it's typical Freddy using manipulation to convince Jason to escape hell and go on a rampage to help restore his power. It's a great, simple setup that establishes Freddy's motives and resurrects Jason in a believable manner. Good job on that. Jason makes it all the way to Springwood, Ohio and locates 1428 Elm Street, home of our main girl Lori, who's hanging out with her friends Kia and Gib. They're interrupted not by Jason, but douchebags.
Oh, Trey, you answered my prayers, thank you.
Whoa, babe. Tell you about kissing me after you smoked, huh?
You're gonna die!
That's Trey. He's a dick. He brought his buddy Blake, who the girls want to set Lori up with, but she hasn't gotten over the mysterious disappearance of her ex Will or the death of her mother. Upstairs, Gib takes a shower after sex with Trey, but he's in for a big surprise. Awesome death. The painful backbreak reminds me of Sheriff Garris's death in part 6. For some reason, Jason didn't stick around after that kill, and everyone escapes the house, running into Deputy Scott.
You kids need some assistance?
The police arrive, and after seeing the grisly death committed in a bed, it's suggested that Freddy Krueger may be behind this, but Sheriff Williams wants them to refrain from even uttering his name. At the police station, Lori recalls hearing the name Freddy, and she has a nightmare with some dead kids and a Freddy jump scare that wakes her up. At Blake's house, he's scolded by his father and swears to avenge his best friend in the whole world, Trey.
But why?
Blake is confronted by Freddy, who tries to attack with a shadow version of himself, but with not enough strength, he's unable to do any damage. No bother, he'll let Jason have some fun for him.
Dad.
I always loved how Blake tried to defend himself with his dad's decapitated head. The physics of the dad's head staying on there for so long makes no sense, but it's kind of a funny reveal. Cut to Weston Hills Psychiatric Hospital, where Laurie's ex-boyfriend Will is contained. He sees Laurie's house on the news because of the murders and tells his friend Mark that he has to go make sure she's okay. He admits that he witnessed her mom get murdered by her father, which is the reason he was locked up. Mark refuses to go with Will to Springwood because he doesn't want to potentially run into Freddy, but he changes his tune rather quickly and manages to steal the keys and help them escape. The next morning at school, Laurie finds out that Blake and his dad are dead too, and the police claim it to be a murder-suicide committed by Blake.
I smell bullshit.
Nerd boy Linderman tries to comfort Laurie, but Kia tells him to fuck off. They're all invited to a cornfield rave, but Laurie has a breakdown in the middle of the hallway after explaining that she had a nightmare about Freddy. Suddenly, Mark pops up out of the woodworks and explains what she saw, but Will tells him to knock it off. The sight of her ex makes Laurie faint, causing Will and Mark to flee the high school. Laurie lays in the nurse's office while Kia has her first encounter with Freddy.
Got your nose!
At the library, Will and Mark do some research on Freddy, but all the information has been erased. Mark's brother, killed by Freddy but deemed to be a suicide, isn't even in the obituaries. Mark realizes that they were quarantined in Weston Hills in order to stop the spread of fear that would bring Freddy back to power. Huh. What an oddly relevant statement. That night at the cornfield rave, Linderman tries to approach Laurie again, but Kia steps between the two and mocks him once more. Linderman ain't having it.
You tear me down to make yourself feel better because you really hate yourself, which is kind of pathetic when you actually stop and think about it, assuming, of course, you can think, with all that makeup weighing down your head.
Boom. Roasted.
Will shows up and reunites with Laurie, but we see Gib is stumbling out in the cornfield seeing Trey, who is still a dick even in death. She follows him but becomes trapped in a boiler room thanks to Freddy. We see some fuck is trying to take advantage of a passed out Gib, but it's Jason to the rescue.
She's mine!
So Jason being a kill stealer is what sends Freddy over the edge. Another good setup done to spark the confrontation. Jason happens upon some stoners who clearly picked a fight with the wrong guy.
Invite only, corn poke, and you weren't invited.
Son of a bitch.
The fat guy lights Jason on fire, but that only succeeds in pissing him off, as he chases him out of the cornfield and throws his flaming machete into the kid's chest. He proceeds to go on a full-out massacre of the partying teens. Laurie, Will, Kia, and Linderman escape together and brought along random stoner Freeberg, who was inspired by... Nah, he's just a straight-up ripoff of Jay from Jay and Silent Bob.
I mean, it was amazing when they offered this and I went and I played Freeberg, and it was like a lifelong dream come... Wait. I didn't play Freeberg. I wasn't in that movie.
After dropping everyone else off, Will finally explains to Laurie why he was locked away.
The reason I was sent to Weston is because I saw your dad kill your mom.
Why did he snicker there at the end? Did I miss the punchline about revealing to his girlfriend that he watched her father kill her mother? I don't get it. Laurie's father drags her out of the van, but she demands to know if her mother was really killed in a car crash. Hold up. Her mother, according to Will, was stabbed to death in a bed. What fucking hoops did her dad jump through to make her actually believe her mother died in an accident despite being stabbed several times? Laurie escapes and meets back up with Will, who suggests they retrieve Mark. Only problem is that Mark fell asleep, and Freddy taunts him as his dead brother, but tells him he just wants him to send a message to the kids of Springwood. I think he did that already when he spread the fear at the freaking school. Probably did more to help you than Jason. Mark refuses, and Freddy lights him on fire, leaving his message imprinted on his back.
Pass on a little message for me, will ya?
At the police station, Deputy Scott tries to tell the sheriff he thinks there's a copycat of the Crystal Lake serial killer, but the sheriff is having none of it and wants him to stop digging around to prevent he who must not be named from returning. The teen crew has all reconvened to discuss Freddy and his murders, but Deputy Scott shows up and essentially sums up Jason Voorhees' origin, informing them it had to be him at the cornfield. Then Will must have read the script because he just straight up guesses the entire plot of the movie.
I mean, what if Freddy brought Jason back? Because he was too weak to go after us on his own, so
He used Jason.
The conversation turns dark as Laurie realizes she's in a dream, and Freddy appears to her, but she's able to rip off his ear and bring it into the real world. This leads Will to explain that he never had dreams while at Weston Hills because of the drug he took called Hypnosil. The gang decides to break in and steal this Hypnosil for themselves. During their little mission, Freeberg takes a pop break and sees a terrible CGI Freddy pillar that eventually takes control of his body and forces him to dump all the Hypnosil down the drain. Suddenly, Jason shows up and attacks Linderman and Scott. His attention is then directed to Laurie, Will, and Kia, who are able to run away, but notice Freddy/Freeberg is just standing there, waiting to unleash his plan to subdue Jason.
Come on! Let me handle this, bitch.
Yeah, apparently bullets, electrocution, and every other killing method possible doesn't work on Jason, but a few doses of horse tranquilizers put him right out. Regardless, Jason is now in the dream world, and we finally get a real fight.
For your thoughts, Chief. Oh, scared? Killed.
I love this first round of Freddy and Jason fighting. We get to see Jason's durability against Freddy's crazy dream maneuvers, and Freddy brings some of that comedic element he's known for. I remember laughing at the pinball thing when I saw it in the theater, despite it being incredibly silly. But all this awesomeness is brought to a screeching halt when we see Jason has a fear of water, and Freddy uses this to torment him. Well, that certainly is lame, because I don't recall Jason being that terrified of water.
Chicken shit! Come on, I'm standing here waiting! Come on, you pussy!
Back to the teens, they have Jason bound up in their van, and their plan is to have Laurie bring out Freddy into the real world and have Jason ready for him at Camp Crystal Lake. How they're able to get from Springwood, Ohio to Crystal Lake, New Jersey in one night is anyone's guess. Laurie enters the dream world, Camp Crystal Lake, and tries to rescue a young Jason from drowning, but Freddy jumps in and attempts to kill him. You see this having an effect on Jason in the real world, but he's able to wake up, leading Freddy to go after Laurie. It's revealed that he was the one who actually killed Laurie's mom. Okay. Before he's able to kill Laurie, she wakes up and brings him to the real world, where his opponent waits.
Kick his ass! Kick his ass! Kick his ass! Kick his ass! Kick his ass!
Yeah, Linderman was fatally injured at one point and dies after a truly tearful goodbye to Kia. Kia tries to distract Freddy away from Laurie and Will, but gets a surprise from Jason. Alright, time to get back to what we all came to watch. This is great. We've had to deal with some bullshit along the way, but the payoff of the fight is sick. I wish Jason would kick a little more ass since he's supposed to be the one with the advantage on his home turf, but Freddy's moving a hell of a lot quicker. Still, watching these two beat the shit out of each other is entertaining as hell. I'm having a blast by this point. Yeah, Laurie and Will are still around and they're setting up to blow the two up, but let's get back to the carnage. The bloodshed here is insane. It's so over the top with it sprayed and spit all over the damn place. I love it. The music here too is excellent. It adds to how epic all of this is. I prefer the instrumental music over the generic heavy metal blasting. Two of the most brutal killers in horror, making the others suffer in the most gruesome ways, even though neither of them will die. But could an explosion really be the end of them? Ah, no. Oh, yes! Laurie takes this opportunity to decapitate Freddy and return Jason's machete. Huh, you can see his eyes there. I thought Freddy stabbed them out. Anyways, we cut to the morning after the mayhem. My overall thoughts on Freddy vs. Jason. It delivers what it promises. I enjoy every moment where Jason and Freddy are involved. Whether it's Jason slashing someone up or Freddy screwing with his victims. When either of them arrive on screen, I immediately get hyped. Like I said in the beginning, I think the setup is perfect. A powerless Freddy looking for help in the depths of hell and recruiting Jason under the disguise of one of his biggest weaknesses, Pamela Voorhees. It's simple and it works. Believe me, it could have been done in a much more insane, preposterous fashion based on the ton of scripts that are out there. And I like that the feud essentially starts just because Jason stole a kill off of Freddy. He should be jealous because Jason's body count far outweighs his own. The fight scenes are awesome. It's good to see each one take place on their home field. In the dream fight, Freddy rules with his power and humor. It's totally fun. However, I cringe when it's implied that Jason is scared of water. Watching him pull back his machete swing and completely freeze up at the sights of water makes me roll my eyes so far back I can see the inside of my head. But then the real world fight kicks serious ass thanks to it being an absolute bloodbath. They both get their punches and slashes in, and they get to use the other's signature weapon on each other. You can't tell me you don't kinda cheer when Jason stabs Freddy right through the chest with his own arm. It's everything I was craving to see since I heard the concept of Freddy vs. Jason. I also actually appreciate the ending. It lets fans of each killer make an argument that their favorite won the battle. Jason's the one walking out with his machete and head trophy, but Freddy's wink lets you believe he's still alive and they're possibly in a dream. I'm totally cool with the neutral ending, although it would have been pretty cool to see the alternate ending where Pinhead separates them in hell. That shit would have been dope. Now you'll notice I'm gushing over Freddy and Jason, because the teen characters are boring. There's so much drama going on with Laurie alone, it gets super annoying. Her mom's dead, dad's a weirdo, boyfriend was sent to an insane asylum, and Freddy occasionally messes with her. I don't care about any of that. Will is also such a bland character. He sort of reminds me of Sean from Part 8. It's cool to see he's been locked away in Weston Hills, which is a callback to a previous Nightmare on Elm Street entry, but then the drama piles on when we find out he's there because he claims Laurie's dad murdered her mom, and then the dad had him locked away to keep him silent. Again, I don't care about the teenagers' stories. Obviously, you have to give them motives and whatnot, but holy hell, there's too much going on with all of them. I would have preferred to see them investigate the Freddy cover-up the police were behind. Like when Blake is blamed for the murders of Trey and his dad, it's similar to the original Nightmare. Play with that. Therein lies the biggest problem with the movie. When the focus shifts away from Freddy and Jason to the human characters, it gets extremely boring. If they gave them more interesting things to do and toned down the layers of drama going on, it could have been better. Mark is my favorite of the teens because he acts as the one who knows the truth about Freddy and can be of assistance, but he's killed off too early. And Kia, played by Destiny's Child's Kelly Rowland, is annoying. She's the sidekick that is there to provide some sassy quips and really be of no help until the end. And it would have been nice to see a split in the kills. I love my boy Jason, and he racked them up in this movie, but I wish we could have gotten a few more elaborate Freddy kills. I mean, this really does end up feeling like a Nightmare movie with special guest Jason Voorhees, so why would I include it in my Friday the 13th franchise overview? Fuck you, that's why. So while I love the bringing together of the two horror icons, the fights, and the ending, it's weighed down by human characters who make the story feel dragged out with the seemingly endless amount of drama. Also, making Jason afraid of water was total bullshit. I give Freddy vs. Jason 2.5 Freddy Claws out of 5. but let me know your thoughts. Who were you rooting for the first time you saw this movie? Would you have preferred a more clear ending as to who won? What would you have changed to make the time away from Freddy and Jason more interesting? And what was your favorite kill? I'll be concluding the Friday franchise next week when I take a look at the 2009 reboot/remake Friday the 13th. Until next time, peace.